Good morning. Another day, another problem arising from the political parties and their ambition to dictate to the people of this country what they think we should know, when in fact they know 3/5 of nothing, and most of them are 10 chops short of a 9-chop barbecue. It's time you people woke up. This is our Constitution. It's also the interpretation by the people who framed it, which is public record, which is law. Like it or not, lump it can be determined by us for an alteration, not by politicians. Not by politicians. They have no authority. Gough Whitlam once stated, the Prime Minister is above the Governor-General.
So must Sir John Kerr accept your advice, whatever advice you give?
Unquestionably, the Governor-General takes the advice from his Prime Minister and from no one else.
And must act on that advice?
Unquestionably, the Governor-General must act on the advice of his Prime Minister.
There is no tolerance here. He must
None whatever.
And he was a bit ugly for that, and a bit tall even so. But getting down to the truth of it, he is not above the Parliament, he's not above the Constitution, and certainly is not above the Governor-General. He is not elected, so he has no authority whatsoever. If he is elected by the Parliament to sit over the Parliament, that would only take the place of him being the foreman, which is what he would be, same as premiers would be foremen of their parliaments. The rest is lies and nonsense. So let's get that straight. And universities in this country teaching and talking about the supremacy of the Parliament, because somehow they think it was referred to in the Cable decision, therefore it's law. No, it's not. No, it's not. Decisions of the High Court, if they're made contrary to the Constitution, are invalid. Pro tanto invalid. Isaac said it. Sir Samuel Griffiths said it. And look at that. Sir John, in 1945, Sir John Latham said, when the High Court gets it wrong, and it's incorrect according to the Constitution, the people can ignore it with impunity, meaning it's garbage. Your decisions have to be exactly precise with our Constitution, or they don't exist. So let's have a look at this, because you're saying the supremacy of the parliaments. And it says, the truth is, the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with who? The people. So if we're absolute, supreme and uncontrollable, then how do you get any legislation through? By the authority granted by our Constitution, nothing more. Who does it involve? Every single Australian. Doesn't matter what colour. So who are custodians of this country? We are. Are we Indigenous? Yes. Are we native? Yes. If you're born here, you're native to this country. How could you be anything else? You're Indigenous to this country. You're born here. Are you an Aboriginal? Well, I don't like that derogatory name, but if it was applied to anybody here, it'd have to apply everybody who was native. Who's custodians? We are. Why? Because the common law says we are. The Constitution? Yes. It installs the King James Bible as a common law. And God put the people. So whereas the people. Then we got a thing on the paper. It says, Mayor Slams, Oz Day Wimps. Yeah, well, good luck with that. Let's look at Australia Day. Does it celebrate the invasion of this country? No, it doesn't. It celebrates all Australians coming together and celebrating Australia. Who is Australians? Everybody living inside the boundary. 12 nautical mile boundary. Nothing else. Everyone. Black, white or brindle. Are they bound by law? Yes, they are. Is all the legislation lawful? No. It states in the Constitution, not all enactments of parliaments are valid. Only those made pursuant to, in accordance with, and under the authority granted by the Constitution, and those laws only are binding on the court's judgment of people. All other laws are void. You know, it's time the Parliament woke up. You have a level of authority granted. Where it's not granted, it's denied. Remains with us. Don't like it? Tough. Because you haven't got any ability to go around it. You try to say you have. You can't legislate against our Constitution. That's all lies. That's why I seized the green one and held it in criminal contempt, in fraud. Until you prove its authority. You can't do that. nor can you set aside that seizure. It's registered in England. I filed it with all the authorities. Don't like it, tough. All your stuff is garbage. Every law, rule, regulation, everything else is garbage. I don't care what a magistrate or judge says. If they deny the authority of the people, they're denying their authority to be there, because if it doesn't come from us, it doesn't exist. The Constitution says the Parliament is not supreme, and the very essence of federation is that that must be so. The Parliament, like everyone else, is subject to the law and must abide by it. That's clear. Page 791 says neither the federal nor the state parliament are sovereign bodies. They're only legislatures with limited authority. If they attempt to pass a law in excess of that authority, the law is a nullity and affords no obedience. It's a fraud. Can't be used. It doesn't take it to court and get a decision of a court. No. The court must look at it, and if they're a court of competent jurisdiction, they have to declare a law of the Commonwealth or the state to be invalid by transgressing our Constitution. It's there in a nutshell. If you're not a court of competent jurisdiction, for example, if you haven't sworn the oath contained in this Constitution, you're not. So you have no authority. 1 William and Mary says every single public servant, right down to the people who shovel and clean the sewers, must swear the oath of allegiance before swearing their oath of office. Must. Must means have to. No choice. Now, if you go page 794, the second paragraph, it says the Australian Parliament is not like the British Parliament, which is semi-sovereign. Ours isn't sovereign at all. It can't be. It can't even be supreme. It can't be anything. Why? Because our law says, and our law is the only right for anybody to sit in our parliaments. Now, we require certain things. So I'm not going to go into great detail with that, because the main issue is the Mayor of Geraldton doesn't like the fact that the Prime Minister decided that you can do something with Australia Day. No, you can't. Australia is the people. And whether you like it or not, it's the people. Now, in our preamble, we added something which is even better, because you'll find out that the Crown is God and the monarch is God's representative. And in the preamble, humbly relying on the blessing of Almighty God, and you don't reckon it should be there. So you take all that out, but it doesn't work. This appeal to the deity was inserted in the Constitution at the suggestion of most of the colonial legislative chambers, and in response to numerous and largely signed petitions received from the people of every colony represented in the Federal Convention. When the expression was first formulated towards the close of the session held in Adelaide, it was thought advisable to postpone the final determination of a proposition to delicate and significant, so delicate and significant, until a later stage, in order to give time and opportunity for further consideration and for the additional manifestation of public opinion and sentiment. In the interval between the Adelaide and Sydney sessions of the Convention, the Legislative Council and Legislative Assemblies in New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia and the House of Assembly in Tasmania resolved to recommend to the Convention the insertion in the preamble of the appropriate words acknowledging and invoking the blessing of the Supreme Being during the session held in Sydney. That's concluded. So we all wanted it then. We all, whoever was available to do it. Now, I'm not going any further with that, because we are relying on the blessing of Almighty God, or we probably wouldn't be here. And more than likely wouldn't be here. Now, Albanese thinks, and so does Roger Cook in this state, and so do the councils think, that they should have the right to decide what day we celebrate the establishment of the First Nation of this country. First Nation, the only nation ever on record, which is the Commonwealth of Australia. There was no nation before that. If you have one, you say, prove it. If you were on this land for 80 million years, or 20 million years, or 10 million, or even 2 million, prove it. The only thing that is evidence in this country is hieroglyphics in caves. Caves proves the Egyptians were here first. Then Nordic races. There's all the other people that were here first. I don't care what you claim. I don't think you should lose any rights, except the right to claim you're the First Nation, because you weren't. You weren't the first people, you weren't first anything. And you have no evidence to prove otherwise. In fact, all the evidence that was in the Melbourne Museum, or where you came from, has been removed. All the evidence in relation to the Negrito people around Albany, the Noongar tribe, has been removed. Why? It's all there. It's all available. Why isn't it out for the public to see? Because the government wants to manipulate things. But they're not even a government, they're a parliament. They have taken control of this country by stealth, by fraud, by theft, by lies. Now let's look at Australia Day. You think councils, which we said can't exist, can exist. Why? Because Wanneroo Shire, on the advice of the Western Australian Local Government Association, is telling people that at Federation, all these laws were residual to the state constitution. You people are lacking anything between your ears if you make that statement. Simply because the state constitution, I've produced it on here before, the wrong one, is the only one that has local government in it. It was added to the Western Australian State Constitution with number 88 in 1979. Every other state added it to their constitutions. The problem with that is Western Australia has never had a lawful state constitution. You want to argue that, we'll argue that in a different forum because I've already put it to you, proved it, and proved it to the court. Western Australia has never been lawfully constituted under its correct state constitution. New South Wales removed it in August 1902. Queensland removed its upper house in 1922. South Australia and Tasmania removed theirs in 1934. Victoria in 1975. So now what have you got? You've never had a lawful federal parliament either. So why are we debating with Albanese and the morons? So you go back to your constitution. You want to be a citizen of this country. It's a constitutional citizen as a subject of the reigning monarch. Our constitution says so. The only way you can do that is to come into this country, follow our customs and beliefs, assimilate into our society, or quite frankly, get out. Get out. You don't like this country or what we stand for? Get out. We don't want you. You're rejects from the funny farm which we don't want to join up to. Don't like my expression? Boo-hoo, get over yourself. Now, you do not get sworn in by an unlawful entity known as a council, or local government, or whatever you call it, which does not exist in the Constitution, and state constitutions continue subject to ours, it's not in there, doesn't exist under that. Not the garbage that you got. If it was a parliament, where's the upper and lower house, where's the elections held by us? Us. Under Chapter 1 of the Constitution, there's none. Australian Electoral Commission, garbage. State Electoral Commission, absolute garbage. Elections are held state by state from a group of people selected by the governors of the state. And we select one person once for the lower house, once for the upper house, both at state and federal level. Section 8 of our Constitution is clear. You vote for one person once for the Senate. How come we got preferential voting? Good old Labor Party, political party moron, named Billy Hughes, decided to add it to our law. But it's not law. Wouldn't matter if it was assented to. It was made in excess of the authority granted. It's denied. It remains with us. We said no. You can't. How can I vote for you and then you say, well, I've given your vote to someone else? No, you haven't. It's not yours. It's mine. Otherwise, why do I get fined if I don't vote? It means it's my vote. If I don't cast it, you still can't find it. Because the Constitution doesn't say it's compulsory. So it's not. You can't make it compulsory. You can't make it compulsory. There's your problem. See, you lie, 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 and lie. Now, on Australia Day, if someone swears new citizens in, has to be the governor. You can't do it, but he has to first be a correct governor, not just a stand-in, especially not the one we got now. He is just a liar and a fraud. Can never be anything else. You want to take me to court? Try it. I've got the evidence proves who you are. You want to be a citizen of this country under our Constitution? You cannot do it under the Citizenship Act. It's a load of garbage. It was changed in 1973 and backdated to 1948. It's invalid automatically. You cannot backdate legislation now or any other time. It had to go to the people. It wasn't. It's gone. You want to be part of this country, you have to be naturalised as a British subject. Swear the oath of allegiance, learn our law, answer a few questions relevant to this country so you prove you're following our customs and beliefs and assimilated. Means you can't live your Muslim self. I'm not saying there's anything against it, but it does not fit our society. Goodbye. Can you swear on the Quran? No. Can you swear on anything other than the King James Bible? No, you can't. You take an oath of allegiance on the Bible, or a declaration that you're going to follow our constitutional oath by declaring it. You cannot get out of that. All the people have been sworn in as citizens of Australia are not, because Australia is not a lawful entity. It is not a nation. Never was and never will be. The first and only nation on this continent is the Commonwealth of Australia, as established by the Constitution. Whereas the people, under the one superior being, God. That's it. Everything else is a lie. You think I'm wrong? Put the questions on my Facebook page, I'll answer them. So to all you lovely people, the 26th of January is Australia Day. Celebrate it as Australia Day if you want, and you who don't want, go bury your heads in the sand, pretend you were invaded and that you weren't even here. So, who invaded you? No one. We weren't here either. If you want to change it, put it to the people in a referendum, but put the truth first. Stop your lies. Stop your political party claptrap where you're trying to manipulate and shove the people around believing that you have some hidden authority. No, you don't. Supreme authority remains with the people. Absolutely. And you cannot touch it. You do that, you fracture federation, it's war on the crown, you're going to jail for life. You're going there anyway. Just a matter of time now. So, have a lovely day and I look forward to a good Australia Day with the truth. And Woolworths and Coles, you're just idiots.
Woolworths has made a controversial move to axe its Australia Day merchandise, citing a gradual decline in demand for the goods. Live now to Jack Hahn in Parramatta. Morning, Jack. The move is being met with mixed reactions.
Yeah, some are commending the company for this, calling January 26 Invasion Day, while many have slammed the supermarket, telling me that Woolworths is going woke and is engaging in a culture war. This morning, their media team have reached out to us, reassuring customers that Australian flags will still be on sale year-round at their sister stores, Big W, and they've cited this decision because there's been a gradual decline in the purchasing of Australia Day merchandise. Nonetheless, people are fired up.
You know, I feel like they don't become popular on Australia Day. I think it should still be a thing, but I think it's slowly dying, right?
This is the most un-Australian thing. I'm not copping it. We want back Australia Day. Bring back the paraphernalia. We want it all. Bring it back.
I don't know. It's Australia. It's pretty cool. So have your flag out everywhere, you know what I mean?
This morning, we've also heard from Northern Territory Senator and Shadow Indigenous Minister Jacinta Nampijinta-Price. She has called this virtue signalling.
All right, Jack, thank you.
You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later gotta cut you down, sooner or later gotta cut you down. Go tell that long-tongued liar, go and tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, tell him that God's gonna cut him down, tell him that God's gonna cut him down.